Hey everyone, Ryan here, Bible Nerd. We're going to go into the divine name a little bit further because as I posted that video, I had people comment and point me to other ways to say the divine name. Now, I've always known it to be Yahweh. In fact, I've heard some brilliant pastors and scholarly people and how it's like breath, how you say like Yahweh, like it's your in and out breath, and there's some beautiful poetry with that. But is that really the right way to say it? And I watch these videos and I've been studying a little bit of the history of why it's so hard to know the divine name, what those symbols meant. Even the Y you see here could even be a J because of the way it could sound. And the W you see here could be a V sound. It's amazing how much scholarly effort's been put into knowing how to say this divine name and the effort made by the early scribes and the early scholars to not have people accidentally say the name. They took it very seriously that you shall not carry or take the name of the Lord in vain. So it is something where I wanted to kind of dig into that a little bit further. So around town, I've been wearing this hat. I've been wearing a little sweater that also has it. And I really liked interacting with people because some people didn't know what it meant. They didn't even ask or whatever, they didn't know what it meant. In fact, I was in this one room with a bunch of people and they didn't even ask. They said, "What does your hat mean?" Nobody even kind of noticed it. And they just thought maybe it's some other abbreviation for something. I don't know what they were even thinking. Maybe highway. I don't know. But there was people that said, "Hey, doesn't that mean Yahweh?" And it was a great little conversation to have with people and just kind of go through my Christian walk and just a chance to talk to people on the street. I just find so fun. I love the teaching aspect of it. So and and I would ask him, okay, where did you come up with Yahweh? Where's that name? Do you have any history or any kind of idea if you learned the name or just kind of associated with it and just kind of, well, that's what somebody told me the name meant, and I've just gone with it. Or is there other names? And every once in a while, one person would say, it's Yahweh, but it's actually Yehovah or Yahovah. There's a couple other ways to say it. So thought I would jump back on this video here and show you a couple of the symbols, show you kind of why it's hard to figure it out, and see if you get excited like I do and just nerd out on this stuff to figure out what the divine name would have actually sounded like. And honestly, until Moses comes back or God comes back and tells somebody else in English sounds and letters and all that kind of stuff, we may never know. And I don't want to lose sight of how knowing the name is important. Don't get me wrong. I think it's fascinating. And that's why I'm nerding out on this. That's why I'm doing the video. But I don't want to lose sight of the character of God. I don't want to lose sight of his will. I don't want to lose sight of his plan. I don't want to lose sight of the story and get kind of stuck on the name and get so entrenched that I can't listen to somebody else's interpretation of it. I don't want to plant a flag so deeply that I'm closed-minded. That's part of nerding out for me, is finding the other evidence or the other reasons and kind of place it against truth and reason, kind of go back and forth within my own heart and try to see, okay, what resonates and where does that take me? Now, I don't want to be so open that I'm led astray. Don't get me wrong there, but I still want to be open enough to, if somebody comes up with a different name and they've got some evidence for it, okay, let's take a look at it. I want to be an open cup as much as I possibly can be, especially when it comes to this work that I just love. I love studying the Bible. So I got kind of caught up in the divine name, and I want to review and show you a couple things and see if you get as excited as I do. And hope you enjoy the video. Again, comment, like, and share. And let's just dive right into this. So here are the symbols that are most associated with YHWH, or the name Yahweh, or the other names we're going to talk about. But here are the actual symbols. Here's what they look like. Many people have never seen them before. And these are in the Old Testament over 6,500 times. Just these four symbols to represent the divine name. And once they got to this particular name, many times as they were reading it aloud in synagogue, they would say Adonai or Lord. And again, in your Bibles, you'll see uppercase. Whenever you see it uppercase, that is indicating the divine name. When you see it lowercase or Lord, but lowercase on the ORD, that might just be another Lord or master of the household or the governor or somebody else that's out of a higher status, like a Lord status, but not the Lord, not Adonai, not the Lord of Lords and the King of Kings kind of thing. So the controversy always comes up with what was the sounds in between. And it's almost like they abbreviated it or acronymed it. I mean, we can see it even today. It's not like with the FBI, you're going to say FB, or SWAT. Like the SWAT, we say SWAT, but it's an abbreviation of SWAT. ASAP is another one, BRB. There's all these abbreviations that we know. Okay, we know what that means because we know those symbols. So we know that those symbols or those letters in that order, especially in context with what you're reading, will know that, okay, that's an abbreviation. That's not the actual word. So over time, as they were transcribing and as they were trying to fill in the gaps with this type of stuff, other Tiberian and Babylonian and Russian and German, all this kind of stuff would get these manuscripts and start to try to translate them or try to copy them. And they tried to give us indications of what this would have sound like. So this is where you're going to start seeing little dashes or circles or little markings that they would put around these symbols to help give you an idea what that sound might be. That's where you start running into controversy of, okay, was that the original sound or was that just an indication to not accidentally say the divine name? Once you see these symbols, especially with these markings, say the word Adonai instead to make sure you don't accidentally say the divine name. So check out this symbol. This is the next one that I found that leads to the next most common way to pronounce this name. Okay, now these symbols here, where you see the dot, the little T plus a dot, plus the two other dots, are supposed to help you understand the vowel that was supposed to go with it. Now, why is this one so convincing? Over 2,500 manuscripts so far now have this exact form of this vowels within the YHWH or Yahweh sound. And how these have been translated by people way smarter than me comes up with this word, Yehovah, which is probably the next most accepted, I would say, way of saying Yahweh that may be the most correct with the evidence. I think it's really convincing. Now, does that mean I'm totally sold on it yet? No, because there is some evidence that maybe that's, again, indications of trying to help you not say the word, but say something similar, maybe in a different dialect or different, it's kind of like what you would say in the South versus what you say in the North in America, or English versus American English is different. The sounds are different. The characters would be the same. Like if you wrote it down, it would say the same. But the way a British person would say it versus an American person say it just sounds a little different. It has a different sound, a different dialect. So there is some convincing arguments that some of these little dots wouldn't have been an A sound or an ah sound, an ooh sound, an ooh sound, all the different ways to do it. That's why it's so complicated and so difficult. But I would say it's pretty compelling evidence that it isn't Yahweh as much as it could be Yehovah. And I'm leaning more towards using that word either in conjunction or with people, or kind of explaining these are probably the two most accurate camps, as it were. Now, it's the same kind of thing as using the name Jesus versus Yeshua. That's probably more the actual name that the Jewish people would have called him versus how it's been transcribed and changed into Greek and then changed into English and look like Jesus. But I don't think it's as important whether I call him Yeshua or Jesus, knowing that those are both his names. So at least be familiar with why is Yeshua even come up and why does the name Jesus come up. But I'm still going to sing my songs saying the word Jesus. Some of my prayers are still going to say Jesus and not completely switch over to Yeshua. So whether I say Yahweh or Yehovah or anything like that, I just find it fascinating of how these words came about and the science, the effort, the scholarly work it takes to try to get it as right as possible. Mere Christianity talks about it like crazy. C.S. Lewis, I'm a big fan of C.S. Lewis. He talks about it's like math. We're all trying to get 2 plus 2 equals 4. We're never going to get exactly to 4. We're going to get to 4.5, 5.2. We're trying to get as close to the truth as possible. And the effort it puts into it and trying to find the places we can get the math right, so to speak, is what this whole thing is about. So I found this really fascinating. And these symbols, there's something beautiful about them too. I mean, and just the idea that there may be another way to say the divine name. And I really found it really fascinating to dig a little deeper and even learn about this other word. Honestly, I never heard of Yahweh, or the different ways to say um, Yahuwah. So Yahweh, which basically became Jehovah. That's another way that this vowels are pronunciated. But those little tittles, those little circles, those little things were ways to help us understand the vowel sound that went into these four consonants. So hope you found it interesting. I found it really fun. I'm going to link a bunch of the videos that I've used to kind of put this video together and have you deep dive even further on the evidence for this other possible name for Yahweh, Yehovah, and see if that's something that resonates with you as well. So hope you have a wonderful day. God bless, and thank you for watching the channel.